laptop. I need to get a new laptop. And we're live. Welcome to the Beach Brothers Show. I'm Seko Varner, your serial entrepreneur, your credit repair expert. And I'm surrounded. I have on one side the 757 insurance man, the man with the plan, good brother Jose. And on my other side, our friend who loves Virginia Beach so much that he's running.
So much.
He's running for office for the city council of Virginia Beach, a particular area. That's crazy to me. Give it up for our good friend Conrad Schesventer. Hey, we're the Beach Brothers, and we all live in Virginia Beach, and we love Virginia politics and business. So I'm a business person, Jose's a business person, and our politician guy, our politico, is our good friend Conrad. So we all love Virginia business and politics. We live in the beach, and we love speaking with seated politicians and candidates about things that are happening in the business world in Virginia, as well in the political world in Virginia. So, Jose, who is our sponsor for today?
Well, Seko, our sponsor for today is Car Crazy Automotive. They're located at 851 South Lynn Haven Road in Virginia Beach. It's an awesome place to go. I mean, if you need get your car serviced, you need your oil change, you need state inspections, they take care of all of that. I mean, outstanding service. And you can stop in Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Stop in and see TJ or Terry and tell them Jose and the Beach Brothers sent you.
All right, good stuff. Hey, what's happening in the world of politics, Conrad?
Well, today there was a pretty interesting announcement out of Richmond. Governor Northam met with some rather important people to announce that for the first time ever, Virginia will be acknowledging Juneteenth as a statewide holiday. So that's pretty interesting news from that. I also would want to report a couple of news out of Virginia Beach itself. We've hired, I guess, a new city manager, like a hiring. The city council unanimously voted for Patrick Juhaney, the city manager the past 2 years out of Cincinnati. Manager now for Virginia Beach. He's born in Jamaica. He's, of course, from Cincinnati, and he will be, for the first time in the history of the city, a black city manager. So that is significant improvement.
Wow. Welcome to Jamrock. Jamaica.
I also want to point out a couple of news on the money front for, I think, the mayor race. It's been reported today that the mayor incumbent Bobby Dyer has raised about $14,000 from April to June 11th in filings, and Jody Wagner, the opponent so far, has raised about $75,000.
Wow,
that's a pretty good immediate jump. And RK's in the race too. I think they only list him at about 100. I've also filed my paperwork for the April to June-ish time slot, and they need to update that on Virginia Public Access Project because they haven't done that yet. But hey, everyone filed and we're ready to go.
Interesting. One of the things that I think is intriguing is today I received a robocall. Actually, it was yesterday, a robocall from Ben Loyola. He was on our show last week, for the Republican primary. And today I received a text message from Scott Taylor's campaign encouraging me to vote for Scott Taylor for the primary on June 23rd. I want to say something that's going to be a bit intriguing. It's going to throw a few people off, but the primary, this primary is an open primary. It's an open primary. In other words, if you're a Virginia voter, if you're a registered voter, you can participate. You can exercise your vote. So Democrats and Republicans and independents alike can all vote in this Republican primary. And, we've had some of the congressional candidates on. We've also had some of the senatorial candidates on. So we've got a chance to talk with some of the people who are running for, the Senate seats and the congressional seats And I implore everybody in Hampton Roads, I implore everybody in Virginia, go out and vote.
Oh, yeah.
You may not be a Republican. Go out and vote. If you're a Democrat, this helps you place in line the candidate that you would want your person to run against. If you're a Republican, this helps bolster the person that you want to take over those seats. If you're an independent, then you can really make sure that you kind of place maybe the best person as a consideration for you. So everybody in Virginia needs to really vote in the Republican primary. And I shared this with a couple of people. They're like, well, I'm not Republican. You don't have to be. You don't have. Well, that's going to make me a Republican. No, it won't.
No,
it just makes you an voter. So I would say every person in VA, everyone in VA, go out and vote in the primary. Go out and exercise your right. Brother Conrad, let me get off my soapbox. Let me say this very quickly. V1. Virginia first. So if you love Virginia, if you think Virginia comes first, put V1 in the chat. V1 in the chat. Put V1 in the chat. All right. Brother Conrad, who do we have on the show today?
Right before I introduce the guest tonight, I want to have a shout out to former Beach Brothers guest, Cazelle Levine, who commented here. She's running in Virginia 4th, so don't forget to vote for her as well next June 23rd. But as for tonight, and another salute to Virginia politics, we have Vangie Williams on. She's a 2020 challenger for the Democrat ticket for Virginia's 1st congressional district. And the 1st district is northern area, Stafford, Gloucester, and Hanover, and James City, and King George and King William counties. It's a good snapshot of Virginia with strong military institutions, upper middle class to in the north to rural and middle class of the south. And as a lifelong King George resident, Vangie knows the area. She's a successful self-made wife, mother, and 32-year professional, currently working as a senior strategic planner for a large government contractor. With that, she has hands-on experience with national security and critical infrastructure. There are many things important to you in the year of 2020. What made you want to make a difference by running for this congressional seat?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. So what made me run? I'm a mother of 6 daughters. And one of my daughters, her name is Lily. She has a immune compromised condition called aspergillosis. When I reached out to my congressman, he told me he was too busy through a staffer. He blew me off in several meetings, and he did not answer my letter. He instead sent a Xerox copy of a statement that says the environment is important to all of us. And I said, that's not what my representative is supposed to do. My representative is supposed to represent me and every neighbor I have in the district. And that made me run. It was time we had leadership on Capitol Hill that looked towards people and not towards profits and their corporate friends. So here I am.
Oh, and welcome. Yes, I think Mr. Jose would like to jump in with the next question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Brother Conrad. Okay, Ms. Vangie, the Breach Brothers will always push the interdependent relationship of business and politics. You've been a King George resident for long. So can you give us more of a dive into your business history and how it touches with Virginia politics?
Well, my husband is a small business owner and I am a small business owner separately. But collectively, we emphasize that companies grow. Small business is the background of our country. And most people look at corporations and say, corporations support us. No, they don't. My husband owns a home improvement contractor and company, is a handyman service. Why was that important? Because you and me, if we need something fixed, we need someone quick and we don't need them expensive. A lot of the big corporations focused in on charging a lot of money, and that put it out of the place where people couldn't afford. But it also gave him an opportunity to train new people to go out and do jobs in the community. I think that in my position, running for Congress, it's important that we have that balance. I understand small business. I understand what we need, and I understand the complications it takes, the complicated methods it takes to open a small business. For one thing, just getting a GC license, a general contractor's license, is one of the toughest things to do in Virginia, especially if you don't have a lot of money or a lot of time to attend the general contracting courses. But it's the same thing for real estate, because I'm a real estate agent, and it's the same thing for restaurants. We need to make sure that small businesses can open without a lot of red tape, especially in the minority communities. Minority communities, we need these businesses. Rural communities, King George needs small businesses. And the more small businesses we have, the more people we can employ, and we can give them that hand up so they can make that next step in life. And I'm not talking minimum wage. I'm talking above minimum wage, where they have a actual feeling that they are wanted and needed on a job, not just a paycheck.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, you're very passionate about business and economics. I love that. I love that. Okay. So, a strategic planner, and I like the way you described this earlier. You said, I fix government problems. All right. As a strategic planner is important, as it means you apply critical thinking, forward-finding solutions.
Yes.
And we need folks who care that way. If
Yes.
I asked you if you wanted to fix, say, transportation in the 1st District of Virginia, or if a solution to transportation woes help small businesses, I'm pretty sure you have a plan.
Oh, yes. I have a plan. Sound like Elizabeth Warren there. I have a plan. See, my plan is this.
So tell us about your plan.
So one of my biggest initiatives that I'm going to be introducing once I'm elected is the Invest Initiative and the Invest in America Initiative. The Invest in America Initiative, one of the 4 pillars of investing in America is transportation, making sure that we have light rail and bus services with bus hubs in the 1st District and throughout the state. If like right now in King George, Westmoreland County, Matthews, Lancaster, okay, everywhere from Stafford down, there is not a transportation system. We shouldn't have to rely on Amtrak. Oh, wait a minute. Did I mention that Amtrak from here is an hour away, no matter which way you look? The VRE is an hour away. That is not how we get around. If you don't own a car, how do you get to work? I can tell you a story about a young lady named Mary down in Middlesex, right at the corner of Middlesex and Gloucester before you head to Matthews. She worked at the 7-Eleven. And one night I was coming from James City and I saw her walking. It's 10 o'clock at night. And as a mother, to see a young woman walking, not knowing it was her, I stopped. I know I shouldn't have stopped either. But as a mother, I went, I pulled up and I said, come on, get in the car. Where do you live? Let's go. And then I thought about it. I was like, she just got in my car. I could have been a mass murderer. She got in the car. We started driving and I'm thinking she lives around the corner. She lived almost 7 miles away from where she worked. So I asked her, why are you walking? She said, I make minimum wage. I don't have a car. My mother doesn't have a car. She cannot work. And this is my only job I could find. It's Matthews. It's not a lot of jobs around that area. So I reached out to the community and I told them, I said, look, this young lady, we don't have transportation. I need your help. She had $800. There were 2 people within the district who matched her $800, got her a car. Not only did she get a better job, she actually started to go to school right around the corner at Rappahannock College, and her mother got a job and they got a home health care worker. So that was 3 people who ended up getting a job. The home health care worker, her mother, and her. That is why we need transportation. Light rail would bring industry. Oh my God, could you imagine the 1st District of Virginia and the rural communities in Middlesex, in the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck actually having jobs where people want to work? I'm telling you, we need transportation. Part of the Invest in America initiative, transportation. We bring that, we bring manufacturing, we improve agriculture and aquaculture, and we improve green energy. I'm reading the chats. Exactly. Exactly. Let's see.
Okay, so it seems like we may have lost Seko momentarily.
Okay.
But I mean, if you want to elaborate anymore, or if you have anything else, I mean, you have a few seconds to get back on. So
I'm reading the comment right here. Virginia's small and large businesses will look to hire the most qualified applicants naturally. What does Congresswoman Vangie Williams want to do with education to make sure Virginia students get better for this century's economy? Oh my God, I love that question.
All right, and that was your question, Jose.
yeah, that was. Thank you. She read it all better than I could have. But now that you read the question, please, by all means, feel free to dive in.
Okay, so I'm the mother of 6 daughters. I'm gonna tell you what we do. We need new schools. We need schools within our infrastructure package that are technologically ready, that have broadband, that have, ready for this, a computer for every student. If we can build our corporations up on Capitol Hill during this pandemic, we can provide computers to every student in school, making sure our students are the top in the world. There's no excuse. We can't call ourselves the greatest country in the world if we can't educate our students. And second, make sure that educators have a wage that is a working wage, which means I want a minimum wage for educators across the country. And that means also my Invest initiative, where we exempt the first $50,000 of educators. That means your food cook, your staff in the cafeteria, your front end staff, all educators in the country that's in the public school setting get $50,000 exempted from their federal income tax. That is about $5,000 to $6,000 a year that they have an instant raise. That helps the localities out, that helps the state out, and that helps the teachers so they don't work 2 and 3 jobs, so they can focus on our future leaders of the country. We got to start. And in rural areas, we're overlooked. And what better way is to bring educated and well-paid teachers into the mix so that we can have better. We deserve better.
I would like to follow up on that. And in knowing that I've joined the BB Democrat Party this year, knowing that the party is closer to supporting the idea of federal investments in various sections of the economy, like infrastructure, and following with your strategy as a congresswoman, how would you like to suggest improvements within that same economy? And I'm thinking something like the targeted tax cuts you just mentioned, or direct investment projects that you want to help Virginians with.
Oh, definitely building some of these older schools, like for instance, King George Middle School had a construction program. That was a great investment building onto the school. But at the same time, they found that there was asbestos in the school. So that means our children was within a structure that had asbestos. That's not right. We have enough money in our country to do better. Federally, we should have been supporting the state of Virginia. And instead of giving corporations tax loopholes so they can get away with not paying fair tax, every single corporation should have a minimum tax. That tax money can go to supporting education and our infrastructure in this country. And let me talk about infrastructure for 1 second. One thing that we need in the state of Virginia and throughout the country in rural communities is high-speed internet. Making sure we have that last mile broadband will make sure that every single person in the state has access to broadband. And there's been talk about, maybe making broadband a utility. Well, that's a mixed argument for some people. Some people already complain that their electric bill and water bill is too much money because their county charges them too much money. Adding high-speed internet in there may be a solution, but that is still up to each county. And that will still be up to the state of Virginia because the Corporation Commission takes care of broadband. But we, in the federal level, should make sure that last mile broadband is there. When we're building new roads, when we're doing new infrastructure projects, we should be playing the pipe work to make sure that conduit carries what we need to get broadband to communities that normally wouldn't have it.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. Miss Levine had a quick question. She said, when we get to Congress, she's speaking in the future. I like that. All right. Would you support the redefining the definition of small business?
Absolutely. What just happened with small businesses not getting the money for the Small Business Administration was horrible. Companies that I firmly believe if you are a franchisee and you own 22 hotels, you are not a small business. You are a major corporation. So we need to redefine what small business means, how a small business is defined. I'm a small business. I'm a real estate agent. I employ me. I have less than 50 employees. I can tell you, we need to make sure that a Subway owner who owns, okay, Subway requires you to own 3 restaurants. Our Subway owner here,
okay,
he owns 3 restaurants, and 2 of them struggled because he could not get the funding. Everyone else beat him out. If you are, so small business right now is defined as a company with 50 or less employees. Come on. Well, if your corporation is 50 or less employees and you're a federal contractor or a hotel chain owner and you're making about, say, 5 to 10, 15 million a year,
okay,
you are beating out the people who really need it. Our restaurants, our small construction companies, our stores. King George shut down. And I keep referring to King George because I was stuck here. And I found that it was probably the saddest thing to see is when people called me and they're like, I'm going to have to fire 15 people because I couldn't get $1 of that money. We have to do better. We have to redefine small business and we have to do it now. It can't wait for the 117th Congress. It has to be done now.
Interesting. Okay, most politicians like to talk to voters and say they're running because something needs to be fixed. But look, you live here in VA. What's good in VA? What's good in Virginia? You know, when we say V1, put V1 in the chat if you like Virginia first. When we say V1, what's good that's happening in our great state?
I have to applaud the fact that our protesters have gotten out there and shown that, you know, we have to stand up for all races. And we as a Black woman in the state of Virginia running in a red district, I can tell you there's something great happening. For one, Juneteenth, a state holiday. Yes. Ralph Northam, way to go. We've had our problems with him. I'm going to be honest. We have had
okay. Right.
But this was a step. This was a big step in the right direction. But we need to make sure that we applaud the efforts of our state legislators. Our legislators have blown my mind. They introduced and passed so many bills this year. I couldn't keep track. You know, we have an opportunity to change Virginia. And well, let me tell you something. Let me ask you a question. So Jamestown is in the state of Virginia, was established in 1619 when the first slave got here in 1619. My family has been here since 1639. And in all that time, we have never looked at the collective. And right now, the state of Virginia, our legislators are looking at the collective. They're not looking at one race, they're looking at everything. One thing that I'm hoping, because we're doing so good, is renaming Jefferson Davis Highway to the Richard and Mildred Loving Highway. Why not?
Now, that's intriguing.
We can do it.
That's intriguing. Yeah. 1619, the first enslaved Africans enslaved by the English-speaking Europeans arrived. Right. Yeah.
Now you
Loving.
understand something. That
The Loving case.
Jamestown is.
I always thought that case was kind of interesting because,
Right.
you know, her ancestry, as many of our ancestry does, is not just necessarily based in one area. You know, so she has a Native American and African ancestry, but she denied her African ancestry in all reports, although her husband didn't. It was kind of intriguing. So I learned. I lived in Columbus, Ohio, New York, and we learned about that Loving case, and it was just kind of intriguing that it's kind of intriguing how much that case impacted this area. So renaming a highway.
Yes. So their lawyer, Mr. Cohen, is out of Alexandria, where Jefferson Davis Highway first starts, right? And Jefferson Davis Highway goes all the way down to Richmond, past Richmond, actually to the North Carolina, Virginia border. Some parts have been called Richmond Highway, some have been called what have you, but the majority of Jefferson Davis Highway actually goes through Caroline County, where they're from. And I can tell you, I'm a relative. My family is the Roots family, and we're related to the Lovings. And okay, I'm related to everybody in Virginia. Anybody who knows, there's an ongoing joke. You know, when your family's here from 1649, I'm related to George Washington, Robert E. Lee. Yes, that statue has to come down. I'm related to Jefferson Davis. Okay, so that tells you that this blood has so much in it. We have to honor the people who fought to make equality right, and they did. Why are we honoring Jefferson Davis, who was the first Confederate president? Come on, it wasn't even okay. He got it for a minute. They lost. Now it's time to focus on the new generation, letting people know that Virginia's for lovers, and why not name it the Loving Highway, because it makes sense.
Okay, that branding is intriguing. Okay, yeah. Virginia's for loving.
Yeah, okay. For lovers. Right. Wait a minute. I want to ask you a question. So Jamestown is where everyone came through. When they gerrymandered the district, Jamestown was in the first district. That means the first settlement, Jamestown, was in the first district. Virginia, in my opinion, is the first state of the country. I understand. I mean, it's not the first state. Delaware is the first state. Got it. But we are the landing point. So Virginia and Virginia's first to set precedents so that we can show the country how we govern, how we lead, and how we respect our people. And that's happening right now.
You know what? I heard the governor say, or actually somebody on the governor's stage made very similar sentiments. Hey, if you believe VA, if you believe that Virginia's first, put V1 in the chat. Yeah, we could be, you know, interestingly enough, I want to take it back even a little further. In Virginia Beach, there's a place called First Landing State Park.
Yes.
All right. So before Jamestown, VB had it. So
yes,
salute to VB.
That's right. That's right.
That's interesting. You have okay. Well, you know what? When we spoke into my conservative family on the Beach Brothers show, when we asked what's going great in Virginia, we don't get such a robust answer. But you gave a lot of good things that are happening in Virginia. Yes. I'm going to flip it for a second. Conrad's going to get mad at me. Sorry, Conrad. What's going bad in Virginia?
We're losing the unity. And I always tell people, I'm not running to be the conservative congresswoman. I'm not running to be the liberal congresswoman. I'm not running to be the red congresswoman. I'm not running to be the blue congresswoman. I'm running to be the red, white, and blue. This is about America. I love my country. Everything about it, except the racism, the systemic racism. And what's hurting us right now is it's all coming back to light. You know, Frederick Douglass once said, without struggle, there can be no progress. We've had the struggle. Progress has to happen. And it has to happen now. And it has to happen in a way that we, as Americans, all come together. Now, I applaud my white brothers and sisters who are out there with us. And there's a hashtag starting on Twitter that started yesterday. And someone said, don't use me as a Black person as your cosmetic. Don't use this as I have Black friends, so I'm not racist. What makes you not racist is standing up to racist issues and standing up to systemic racism, breaking, smashing the Black glass ceiling. You know, I've been around. I'll be 52 this year. I don't look it, I know. But I'll be 52 this year.
They say some things don't crack.
And my family is so diverse. And I'll give you a little piece of history. My family, part of my family is white, part is Black, but right. I'm also Indian American from India, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. And they came over back in the 1700s. So my family has been strong. And my Native American blood is really little, so don't you nobody try to pull Elizabeth Warren on me. I'm telling you, I appreciate every bit of my blood. But what makes me who I am is the fact that in any other country, I am American. They don't look at me as a Black American. Only in my own country has someone ever referred to me as a Black Democrat. Only in my own country have I ever been questioned about, is my husband the father of all my daughters? Yep, that was asked during a campaign by a Democrat. So
yeah.
That racism goes on both sides. And I keep telling people, I'm representing Americans. I'm running on the Democratic platform because I believe the Democrats, we are progressing in the right direction and making sure that all Americans make a difference. And right now, yes, Black lives are in jeopardy. Because while we see what happens on a camera, what happens when we don't have a camera there is even more important, because that's the story that we have yet to write.
Interesting. I'm going to, okay. Okay. All right. Brother Jose, I'm going to let you step in.
Sure, feed me to the wolves after that statement that she just made.
Hey, the great thing is, man, all you have to do is ask Vangie a question, and she's gone. You know, you can just sit back for 5 minutes, man.
True. Before I go there, to piggyback off of your statement of what's going good in Virginia, we didn't get a chance to mention it last week, but Virginia Beach has been ranked as the #1 safest, largest city in America.
Wow.
That has to go for something.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So in the chat, type in VB1.
There you go.
VB1.
There you go.
Yeah. Swim to the beach. I love it. Oh, well, also type in V1 because we love all of Virginia. All right. Jose, come with the question, bro.
Indeed. All right, Ms. Vangie. We recently passed the anniversary of Virginia versus Loving, a groundbreaking Supreme Court case supporting the individual right to marry outside one's race. It's notable for how far away it was, 1967, and how far away 1967 was to the introduction of African Americans to these shores. It should be noted, Virginia has never had a Black woman as a federal representative. Full social justice is still taking an agonizing pace. Yes. What are your large goals for social justice, and how does a Congressman woman Vangie lend her voice for such change?
Well, you know, when I first started running, I didn't realize that once I win, I'll be the first woman of color to represent Virginia on Capitol Hill. And during my run the first time, I met with John Lewis, and let me tell you, John Lewis is amazing. His character and his words are spoken very carefully. You know, one thing that we need to do is, you know, I'm not for completely defunding the police, but we need to take action against police departments because, and I explained this back on my Couch Conversations show that comes on Wednesdays and Saturdays. It comes on whenever I feel like lately. And one of the things most people don't realize is that police departments, in particular sheriff's departments in the South and in the Midwest, were created to police Black communities. And since then, I want to ask all of you, how many of you all know a Black sheriff? And it was interesting that most people, even on Twitter, answered, I don't know a Black sheriff. I don't know a Latinx sheriff. I don't know an Asian sheriff. And that has to change. So one of the things that we need to do is we need to make sure that these elections are fair and is not based on party, that is based on people. So part of social justicing is I want to make sure that we are doing extensive background checks on police officers. So if they were in the military and they had issues in the military, don't hire them to a police department where they're going to further extenuate those disabilities. We need to make sure that their mental health is checked, that their record, especially within racism, if they've had a report on racism, why would you put them on a police department in a Black community? That extenuates the circumstance. We need to make sure they have race-related questionnaires so that that we know where their sensitivity level is in the Black community or the person of color community, because it doesn't just happen in the Black communities, happen in Latinx communities, it happen in Asian communities, but it's often me. So we need to shift that funding around. Evelyn, you're absolutely right. We need to shift the funding around. We need to shift it into education. We need to make sure we're educating our police officers and we're educating the public. Not that the public needs a lot of education, because if I'm jogging and you shoot me, there's a problem. And I know it wasn't the police, but it was somebody who was really trying. Or George Zimmerman, he was a community activist. He shot Trayvon Martin in the back. Again, sensitivity. Not all Black men and not all Black women are criminals. In fact, I don't really know that many. The fact that we need to look into the various police station lockup rates and who they're locking up and what they're locking them up for. And we need to make sure the police departments aren't policing themselves and investigating themselves. If they committed a crime, it should be an outside of the state entity that is investigating them. So that's where we need to shift a lot of our funds. So defunding is not the word. Shifting funding is exactly the truth. We need to make sure that we are educating ourselves, and we need to make sure that our leaders step up and do what they're supposed to do and hold the police departments accountable all across the country, whether they're friends with them or not. Hold them accountable. And federally, we need to start holding these crimes as race or hate crimes, and start holding not only the police departments, but their leadership as well accountable.
I like all the sound of that. And I would also want to touch back on a couple points you made earlier. And it reminded me of a James Baldwin quote where he said, "I love America more than any other country in the world. And it's exactly for that reason I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually." That means that we're going to try and fix and fix and fix until we get to that better world that we wish to achieve.
Yes.
So we love to highlight awesome businesses in this area, VB and 757. And you're just outside of it, closer to DC. I want you to highlight some of your great businesses in the first district and shout them out if you would for us.
So the first district goes from Prince William County all the way down to James City. And so I know a lot of people, and I know they will want me to shout their business out. So I picked out, 4 that span different ranges throughout the district. One is New Restoration Pressure Washing here in King George. Very cool guy. Him and his sons come out and they do a fantastic job of pressure washing houses, properties, businesses, great people. And then Spotsy, we have Orleans Bistro. If you have not been, you need to go. It is, let's say their sauteed shrimp is to die for. I have to stay out of there. I don't need to get chunkier. I'm getting older. Losing weight is not that easy. And Jay's in Stafford. Okay, Jay's cooks Southern food, and they cook a little bit of tinge of Jamaica. There's some good food. And of course, in Gloucester, I have to point out Perkins Construction. Very cool couple. They do work that is impeccable. And I believe that we all need to make sure that we support businesses. Oh, and one more, Virginia Builders. They're right here in Stafford as well. Getting out there and supporting business is how we keep Virginia's economy growing. Thanks, Evelyn. I will eat that shrimp.
Well, Jose, why don't you hop in and have our last shout out of the night for ourselves?
All right, thanks so much, Conrad. Our second business shout out is going to be Hector's Tires and Rims. They're located at 3840 East Blue Creek Road in Norfolk, Virginia.
And I'm not sure what's happening with Jose. We can't hear you, good brother.
No, I heard him.
Yeah.
Oh,
I heard him.
I heard him. Yes.
I was going to say, I think you're the only one that didn't hear me on that one. But yeah, you can stop in and see those guys at Hector's Tires Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So stop in and see Isaac or Hector and tell them Jose and the Beach Brothers sent you.
All right. Conrad, did you want to shout anybody out?
Well, I enjoyed a great burger today at 21st Street Grill on the way home from work. And so I would like to shout out, of course, a great place to eat whenever I can.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Good. I want to shout out Tally and Twine. I'm still in love with my Tally and Twine watch. I tell you, Miss Williams, if you get a Tally and Twine watch for your husband, he'll be overjoyed. So maybe that'll be his that'll be the celebration gift that you can give him for supporting you in this run.
Oh, yeah. He deserves it. He deserves it.
Good stuff. Yeah, Tally and Twine. You can find them online. So I guess I have the next question. So Virginians will be impressed by how you like the federal government to take an improving role in so many sectors. You want to help agriculture and you want to bolster manufacturing. You want to revamp our transportation grid. You want a better energy sector. I haven't heard healthcare. So Virginia Beach citizens, Virginians all over, in fact, we're very in tune to wanting the best healthcare system. COVID is only making things worse here in VA, actually around the country. So if Congresswoman Vangie was influencing healthcare policy, how would you do so?
For one thing, I am a firm believer that employers should not be responsible for their employees' health care. So one thing that I really would like to see is, while we are edging towards Medicare for all, I would like to see the ACA and the healthcare marketplace actually take that off the shoulders of employers and put it back where it should be, in the hands of the consumer. If I lose my job, I shouldn't lose my health care. And this is something that's really important. Most people I know, and a lot of Republican people, kept saying ACA is not the same as the Obamacare, remember? It is. Mm-hmm. And where we need to make sure people understand, health care and health care insurance are different. Your healthcare provider is your doctor. Your healthcare insurance is a corporation. That corporation needs to be broken down. We need to take the profit off of our lives, and so that corporations understand that they are not there to make their board of directors rich. They're there to keep our country healthy, and making sure that healthcare includes vision, dental, and prosthetics and hearing aids. Because our country, we need that. We need to make sure that we are fully rounded, that we are taking care of our citizens. If we get that taken care of within the ACA, that is the very next step to Medicare for all. Right now, if we could have passed Medicare for all, that would have happened this year in this Congress. I believe the next Congress, we can get this done, but we need to have a plan of action to make sure that we have a smooth transition, because so many people are losing their lives right now. And a lot of people are refusing to go into a hospital or a doctor's office because they're afraid of what they're going to get in the form of a bill. And I just had that happen today to me. My daughter was in the hospital in November, and I had a doctor call me from November and said, "You owe us money." I'm like, "Surprise billing much, hey? Do you know who you're talking to?" I'm sitting here going, where were you in December, January, February, March, April, and May? Why am I just hearing about this bill today? So he said, "I'm going to go back and look at my records." That's something that did pass is pop-up medical bills. That was already passed. So apparently this bill came out, but it never got mailed to me. So now they're negotiating the price way down, and I told them they need to contact my insurance agency, because my provider was not aware that this doctor came into my room or my daughter's room. So this is where we have to make sure people understand your healthcare provider, you absolutely deserve, that is a human right. But as a healthcare insurance, we need Medicare for all, but we do. And I'm going to make this very clear. We do need health care in the form of private health care for your elective care. Your elective care is not going to be included under Medicare for all. So if you want to pay an extra $200 a month or what have you to make sure that you can go get that cosmetic surgery, go get the Botox, go get major whatever your elective surgery is, I can't even begin. We should be able to take care of people, and it should not be off the backs. I don't know if many of y'all know, if you remember back in 2018, I was called out because I had to file bankruptcy because of my daughter's medical bills. So that's still a real thing even today. And now with COVID-19, it's a reality for so many Americans. So how do we do this? How are we going to fix this? I mean, one plan is easy. One plan would be easy. We're going to need to say anything COVID-19 related. We're probably going to have to start doing some grant programs to make sure that people aren't suffering behind being sick, or if they went and got a test because they were worried. It is absolutely a human right to have health care, and you shouldn't be stressed over it, and you shouldn't have to decide between health care and paying your bill.
Indeed.
Interesting.
I got the
So, all right. So there are a lot of people in the Hampton Roads area, in other parts of Virginia, in your district, who are a lot more conservative in their approach and in their politics.
Mm-hmm.
How do you reach out to those who are a little more conservatively directed?
Well, for one thing, this is my second time running, and I was so proud that a lot of people I spoke with on the Republican side, the conservative side, actually saw what I was saying. And I'm going to tell you, this is the Democratic Party. And yes, as a Democratic Party, we do have big hearts. I admit that. But this isn't about the Democratic Party. This is about Americans. And the fact that the majority of Americans are suffering in silence. And it doesn't matter who you are. If you can't afford your health care, which should be free for your basic health care, and you can't afford the hospital surprise payments, and you have to decide, oh, I'm having this ache in my tummy, I'm going to wait because I don't want a hospital bill. That's the wrong idea. In every other developed country, if you have a broken leg, you go to the hospital, you get it set. In America, you break your leg, you go to the hospital, they're going to put it in a temporary cast and send you to a specialist. And that specialist is going to set your leg and send you another bill. We have lost our way. And it's changed back during the 80s when we changed how healthcare worked. I don't know if you all are old enough to remember, but we didn't really have great healthcare back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, but we had healthcare. And it wasn't expensive. So when you went to the hospital, you might have a $1,000, $2,000 bill. Now you go, you're likely to get $20,000, $30,000 bill. And that is not what you should have to worry about. If my child is sick, going to the hospital should be the priority in getting her healthy and making sure she survived. Not on the way there going, oh my God, if they send me a $30,000 bill because my health insurance won't cover it all, what am I going to do? What am I not going to pay? We have to fix healthcare. That is one of my top priorities. My first priority, well, it's a combination, they're equal, is the economy and jobs and healthcare. They are equal. And that's why the Invest in America initiative and the Invest initiative is so important, because it puts people where they belong in jobs, fixing the economy, so we can afford our private health insurance with Medicare for all. So there's a lot of things. So what I tell my Republican friends and family, which a lot of them have switched tunes and started working with me last election and into this election, is we need to fix our systems instead of the us-them argument, because we're saying the same thing. We're just saying it differently. And there's a term called moral reframing. So I'll give you a great example. Okay, guns. So I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment. I believe that every American should have access to a weapon under guidelines.
Okay.
I believe that red flag laws, it should not be automatically a police department goes in there and tells you that you can't have guns because somebody on the force determines you can't have guns. It needs to be a court-ordered gun removal. That's the only way it's going to be done fairly. Because as a Black woman, I'm going to tell you, if somebody comes to my door and tells me to give them my guns and they don't have justification other than saying, oh, somebody said that you and your husband had a domestic dispute, that's wrong. We need gun reform, not gun control. So that's the difference. See, if you say gun control, not one person wants to be controlled. Remember when you were a teenager and your parents tried to control you? And the first thing you did was the opposite of what they told you not to do. That is what you do when you say control. I'm a firm believer in reform. I'm a firm believer that we need to make sure that we speak the same language. When you talk about marijuana, so I had someone say, marijuana is a substance that should be controlled. I said, hold on. So it's from the federal level, I want to decriminalize marijuana. But because of Dillon rule, I know the states are going to do what they want because the states have control over their laws. But from the federal level, decriminalizing marijuana takes it off of our shoulders as the federal government and puts it with the states where it should be. Now, Republicans are going to say, oh, now we're going to have a bunch of potheads. But let me explain. That's not true. Because what happens is those who need it are the ones who are going to medically get it. And those who want it for recreation will have to go to a dispensary. That dispensary puts money in our economy via taxes. Colorado proved it to be the most successful business. But now, here's the other part of that. Federally, we need to make sure that every business entity, especially a business like this, has a fair balance. That is not all one race owning every single dispensary in the country. So we need to make sure that we balance America, and we can do it. This is the year 2020. I can't even believe we're having protests about civil rights, and this all ties in. How many Republicans have said, well, this is about Black Lives Matter? It's about Black lives, yes, but it's about all lives. It is about all lives, but Black lives do matter. And it is about the hiding of the Black lives that are killed. So these are topics that come up. I actually, there's a Facebook site that's called Westmoreland County Black Americans or something to that effect. I'll text it to you guys. And a young lady named Shakira lost a client today because she was at a Black Lives Matter rally in Westmoreland County. And the couple who was getting married told her in a very poignant way, I can't support you because what you said about Black lives mattering means that all lives don't matter. I'm like, wow. Wow. So the fact that majority of Black men, brown men, Asian men, yellow, you name it, are in jail because of marijuana use or a marijuana charge, that doesn't seem a little bit off. If a Black man and a white man are going down the same street different days, most likely the white man is going to get off, but the Black man is going to go to jail for the same crime. So we use that. And by the first thing we do, decriminalize marijuana, and that's not an issue in the police department. They're going to have to find something new. Oh, but wait, we're reorganizing police departments. The year of 2020 is a new beginning. This year has taught us that we've had a pandemic, political upheaval, we've had protests, and now we have prolific poverty. So this year, we have to do way better and start doing some positive P's, some very positive P's. Profit, people, getting rid of politicians and putting public servants in office instead of people who are looking for the dollar instead of the people working for the people. What's this one?
Interesting. Wow, it takes a lot of guts to make some of the statements that you just made on a political stage. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think we all appreciate that. And I do, one of the commenters mentioned that you seem to be really balanced between some of the conservative positions and some of the liberal positions, and that's welcomed as well. That's for me. Being the independent on the stage, that's very welcomed. I like seeing balance.
Virginia, we're all independent. You don't register for a party in Virginia, so we are all independent. That's where a lot of people forget. It doesn't. It is so weird because I call myself a moderate, but I have a lot of progressive views. But I also, as a Black woman, if you don't know, Black women are more conservative than most people give them credit for.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people of African descent in America are extremely conservative.
Exactly.
And many of our so-called leaders in the past, many of them were even Republicans. As a matter of fact, the quote-unquote Black community was primarily Republican until the voting rights, when the Democrats didn't want us to get voting rights.
Right.
We worked that deal out, and because of that, it seems that many of us have transferred into the Democratic Party. But I'm not a party person. So I don't think either one of them are bad or good. I do like the fact that you're looking out for Americans.
Yes.
I salute that. I like that. And I think that we've come to the end of our show.
Wow.
Any last words?
I feel like we went to the bookstore to get a book on Vangie, and there was a whole shelf of Vangie books.
Words?
Just to piggyback off of what Vangie said, I mean, it's time for change. They don't call it 2020 vision for nothing. So it's time. We need to make it happen.
Well, I just wanted to say, our lives are based on two things. 90% of perception and willingness to change, and 10% facts. And we need to change that so that we're more of a balanced society, that we're looking at the situation from a 50% perception and willingness to change, and a 50% focus on facts. Because what's happening is you have a president who has no problem in twisting the truth, lying, to suit his audience. But the sad part about it is that same audience is the audience that is holding America back from progressing. And I know that so many people have said, hey, she's not liberal enough. Guess what? I'm American enough. I'm American enough to understand and been around to know that when I saw my first cross burning, I was scared to go through a state. I can tell you when I saw my second cross burning, I was ready to go out there and raise hell. I can tell you that as a Black woman, I've had to get multiple degrees just to get the same job as my male counterpart, whether Black or white, and especially white. No offense, Conrad. Conrad's my dude. And also, as a woman, I am often the only Black woman in the room in meetings. So it's been a hard society. And last year, on the 116th Congress, we voted in so many women that it made a difference. We had the most amount of women voted to Congress last election. And this year, we're looking to flip, not just keep flipping seats throughout the district, but to make sure we flip the Senate so we can take action for all Americans, not just those with a D after their name or those with an R. It's about the people that we represent. And running for Congress and being there for my community, my neighbors, my family, my friends, it's about us. We deserve a seat at the table. And that means having that open door policy and being there and being transparent so that people know when they come to see me, they get me. They don't just get a LA. They get me, they get my voice, they get my time because they elected me into office. And the only way we change America is that we put people before profits and people before corporations and people before anything that is negative. It's time to change. VangieForCongress.com.
Wow. Okay. Well, you've been checking out the Beach Brothers Show. We all live in Virginia Beach and we love Virginia politics. We love Virginia business. As a matter of fact, if you need to get your money straight, talk to the 757 insurance man right there. Jose. All right. If you need to get your credit straight, holler at me. And Virginia Beach, take a hard look, a really good look at this gentleman, Conrad. His ideas for Virginia Beach are groundbreaking, intriguing, progressive, conservative where they need to be, progressive where they need to be. Take a hard look at Conrad, all right, Virginia Beach. Hey, you've been listening to the Beach Brothers Show. If you're interested in joining us on one of our upcoming episodes, talk to Mr. Snez. Talk to Conrad. All right. He's the booker for the show. And if you're interested in having your business highlighted on the Beach Brothers Show, holler at Jose and he'll take care of you. All right. So you guys keep it beachy. And as I said earlier, with this upcoming open primary for the Republican seats in the Senate and the congressional seats, everybody can vote. So Virginia, everybody should vote. Everybody should vote. Everybody, I'm repeating myself for a reason, all right? So put V1 in the chat. V1, all right? We love you, Virginia. Take care.
Thanks, all, I guess.
Thank you, Vangie.